Welcome, everybody. As you're coming on, I am so excited and happy that you are here. On behalf of UFit Gyms and myself, Petra Kolber, it is my absolute privilege to be with you for the next 30 to 45 minutes. We're going to start right at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time, but we wanted to open the doors a little early to make sure you could get comfortable. Grab some water, maybe even grab a pen and a piece of paper to take down some notes, but don't worry about having to remember anything. I would love you to just show up, turn off your phone, open up your heart and your mind, and get ready for 30 days to a happier you. So welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I am so happy that you are here. And over our time together, I'm going to give you some tips and strategies on behalf of myself, Petra Kolber, and UFit Gyms on how you can flourish and thrive as you step into this beautiful thing called summer. Now, this conversation is not about changing who you are. It's actually about becoming more of who you are, remembering all that is good. And that is the foundation for happiness. It's working from a place of all that is versus all that we hope should be. So as we begin, what I'd love you to do right now, and feel free to jot this down, is think of one thing that you are grateful for today. I am deeply grateful for you being here. Now, throughout our time, some questions might come up. I'm going to invite you to put those questions into the Q&A box. You will see that at the bottom of your screen. You'll see the chat box. Don't use that. Go to the Q&A and put any question in there. I can see them, and at the end of our time, about 30 minutes in, I'm going to check and see what questions you have. There is no such thing as a question, because if you have that question, I guarantee someone else has it. So on behalf of being the courageous one in this group, I am here to encourage you to write questions. Don't hold back, because this is information that I want you to live. I've often said you learn it to teach it, but you live it to preach it. And to share this joy, the happiness, how to flourish and thrive to your children, to your family, to community, that's how we do it, by living it. So I want you to think of happiness as interval training for life. Just like you go to the UFit gym to work out for your heart, this is working out for your spirit, your sense of belonging, your sense of ambition, your sense of meaning, and all that you are. Happiness is, I call it the heart work of the hard work. Think of it as interval training. And when things are going well, which they will, you're going to be able to enjoy those moments without going, have you ever done this? Is this too good to be true? And then in the dips, in the challenging times, because life is not steady state training. Life is the ups and the downs, but then in the dips, we also get to have the resilience and the courage and the grit to go, oh, this too shall pass. Now, I don't know about you, but about 2 years ago, we heard about this thing called COVID. And I thought, okay, I'm ready. I can do this. I can get ready for 3 weeks or 6 weeks or whatever it is that got kind of like a bit of like a intro workout. And then 6 months in, I'm going, okay, wait a minute. This workout is feeling a little bit like a 10K. And here we are, 2 years in. I don't know about you. I'm tired. And that's why this work is so important, because you know what else is tired? You're probably feeling a little anxious, a little stressed. Your brain is also exhausted. Our brains are designed for peak moments of stress, peak moments of recovery, and moments of reflection. And I want you to lightly reflect back now to the past 2 years and know that you and your brain have been staring at the face of the unknown for over 2 years. Your brain was not created to be able to deal with that. Your heart is not designed to deal with that much stress without any sight of the light at the end of the tunnel. Now, here we are at the light of the end of the tunnel, but my friend, you did not come this far to only come this far. So I say, if we come out of the pandemic the same way we went in, what a waste. So as you step into summer, let's see how we can level up our joy, level up our happiness, and let's look at why this is so important. So now I want you to be in the moment, but we're going to fast forward to the end of your life. Don't panic. But this was work done by a hospice nurse called Bronnie Ware. And she interviewed many, many people as they're about to transition from this part of their life. And she saw there was a common thread of 5 regrets that people, when they were leaving this world as we know it, that they kind of wished the regrets. The first one is, this is not a surprise, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. But we can also turn our job into a calling with the right mindset. The second one is, I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. And I'm sure what COVID had shown us more than anything is the importance of community. Yes, this is wonderful, this is beautiful, but also we need the heart to heart, the eye to eye, the face to face. Number 3, I want you to look at these words. I wish I had let myself be happier. I wish I had allowed myself to be happier. Happiness, in the terms of positive psychology, what we're going to talk about today, is many times, not always, many times a choice. The fourth one, and this is courage is kind of tied into happiness. I wish I'd had the courage to express my true self. What we're going to talk about today has got nothing to do with changing who you are, and everything to step into becoming more of who you are. And then number 5, I wish I'd lived a life true to my dreams instead of what others had expected of me. Expectations are resentments waiting to happen. But with that, I don't want you to think of expectations in terms of happiness either. And don't compare your level of happiness to anyone else's. This is your journey. But when we do the inner journey, moving from our head that will shut our happiness down into our heart that will open up into a life of possibility, that's where the magic happens. So tell me, my friends, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? And why do we even need to talk about this thing called happiness? Isn't this something that comes easily to us? Here's the thing I want you to know and understand. It is actually harder work to be happy and more joyful and more positive than it is to be negative. And this is weird, right? Coming from someone who teaches happiness. Here's the thing. There is something called the negativity bias. And it served our ancestors very, very well. Remember when we saw that tiger, that lion, like chasing us? Tens of thousands of years ago, that kept us alive. The trouble is, where has fear overstepped its boundaries in your life? So that part of our brain, the brain that kept our ancestors alive, and it's a beautiful thing because guess what? It's why we are here today, being able to have this conversation around happiness. The challenge is this part of our brain, the reptilian brain, has been with us the longest. The longest is the strongest. So our brain's default is to go onto the defense. Every morning, I don't know about you, we're waking up. What's going to go wrong today? How many emails? What's going to happen? And so we need to constantly prime and reboot and reframe our mindset so we can see all the good in life versus all that's going wrong. And this is not Pollyanna. This is not rose-colored glasses. I should get some rose-colored glasses. This is not rose-colored glasses, but this is looking at working from a place of all that is going well. And then we tend to the things that we want to strengthen and change and improve. This has got nothing to be like, oh, I'm going to sit on the couch and eat bonbons. No, actually, when we do this work, we are more inspired. We have more courage, more ambition, more drive to be our best selves so we can serve our work forward. So this thing called the negativity bias, maybe you've heard, negativity sticks to us like Velcro, positivity slides off us like Teflon. I want you to remember, let's go back to last week. Let's say you had 10 interactions, some online, some in person. Yay, we're going back to person. Some online, some in person, 10. Let's say 5 were neutral. You walk into a situation feeling good, you walk out feeling good. 5 were great. You walked in feeling good, you walked out feeling even better. And then that 1, you walked in feeling great and you walked out feeling, well, that didn't go as planned. Wow, they didn't really like my idea. Oh, I can't believe I said that. Which is the one we remember? The positive or the negative? Right. So this is why we need to flip that. And I want this work, the work that we do together, to reverse that and let the good stick to us like Velcro. So again, talking about negativity bias, it is the hard work of constantly just being aware of what's going up here. For 30 years, I was a fitness expert. I studied from the neck down. And now I go, I'm interested in what goes on between the ears. What happens here will dictate and determine the trajectory of your life. Where your thoughts go, your life will flow. But let's look at this thing called happiness. So what is it? Well, if you look it up in the dictionary, not that helpful. It's a state of being happy, an experience that makes you happy. How are we going to take that and implement it into our lives? So there is now a science of happiness. We don't actually call it happiness. Happiness is a part of it, along with grace, along with gratitude, along with grit, along with resilience. It's all part of this word of how to build a flourishing life, where you're not just coasting, you're not just surviving, but you are living, you're embracing, you're in the life that you want, you're creating the life you want versus sitting on the sidelines. This work started with the grandfather of positive psychology called Martin Seligman. And we're going to talk about the 5 pillars today of what it means to live a life where you can flourish and thrive. And these you will see over the next few weeks, starting in June, through the happiness habits. You don't have to remember any of this today, because then you're going to get the recording, but we're going to give you little action steps, one little thing that you can do each day to start building the 5 pillars of what it creates, what it means to create a flourishing life. So there's an acronym. It's called PERMA. PERMA stands for positive psychology. Excuse me, I'm going to take a Here's what happens when I get excited about talking about happiness. There are 5 elements to creating a happier, more flourishing life. P stands for positive emotion. We're going to talk about this in a moment. E, I think if I had to pick one right now, the one that's going to be the more challenging to all of us is engagement. How truly engaged are we in our life? We live in a distracted world. We have this little thing at the touch of our hands, and at any moment there's dings and alerts and people needing us. So your ability to be focused will be your superpower of the future. So we have positive emotion, engagement, relationships. Relationship you have with others, and the relationship you have with yourself. Meaning and purpose, don't worry, we're going to talk about how you can dive in and find what your meaning is, because so many people I coach go, Petra, I've been so busy, I don't even know what brings me meaning anymore, because it's so busy being human doings. When is the last time you actually took the time or felt like you had the time to breathe and pause and go, what is it I want to do with my one wild and precious life? And then we have accomplishments. It's not just looking about how far forward we still want to go and do and cheat. All of that is great, but it's never forgetting. And I want you right now actually to do this together. I want you to look back through the lens of gratitude and appreciation for the past 2 years and look at everything you have done. Look at everything you have done. You made it. You're here. You're showing up. You're taking time to watch this live or on the replay. Congratulations. That's a huge accomplishment. You're saying, you know what? Those were a tough 2 years, but I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to look at new ways. I'm willing to see, I now know what I don't want, but I'm not necessarily sure of how do I create more of what I do want. Because I don't know about you, I didn't have Happiness 101 when I went to school. So when we look at what happiness means in terms of positive psychology, it really comes down to this: creating a life, designing a life, curating a life where you grow and you thrive and you feel prosperous. That's what we're going to talk about. So how much of our happiness can we really change or adjust? Now, here's the thing I want you to know. This is not about, are you happy or are you sad? What I want you to think about as we go through this time together is, how could I be 1% happier? How could I be 2% more joyful? How could I maybe be 1% more appreciative of my life? It's micro adjustments that will lead to a macro change down the road. Habits take time, and happiness takes time. But when we can take the small steps and realize that this work is it's really important, because how you perceive yourself in this world will change everything. It's not what you look at, it's what you see. So, how much can we change? So, the question is not, am I a happy person or a sad person, but what can I do to elevate my baseline? Happiness is just like weight. You know, we had to talk about our metabolism and our weight baseline. We all have a weight set point. We also have a happiness set point. Now, these numbers kind of change a little bit. There's a whole new research of talk about the second brain of our gut. But on average, the researchers are showing that 50% of our happiness is actually out of our control right now. It's our genes. Like, oh, that's a happy baby, or you remember it, you're a happy child, or maybe you're a little bit more like a sullen child, and you don't know why. It was part of your genetic makeup. Now, this is all wrapped up in the caveat that our baseline level needs have been met. You have a roof over your head, you're not stressed about your mortgage payment. So this is like when we're living, we're in a good life, in the extraordinary of ordinary days. We're not worrying about our safety, all of that. So the 10% is often what people think is going to make them incredibly happy. Higher income, solid employment, family status, health. This is like little health, catastrophic health, take that out. But the things like, my ankle, am I getting older? All of that, age and religion. Am I marrying the right person? Am I living in the right neighborhood? Do I have the right job? Did I get the promotion? Did I lose the weight? All the things that we think are going to make us incredibly happy. And then we get those things and we suddenly realize, I don't know, I feel kind of the same, maybe just in a bigger house. Or the more, or with my partner, but I still kind of feel like something's missing, because we need to do the inner work, the heart work, the hard work of the heart work. So what is it that we can start doing today in this moment that can actually elevate a life of flourishing, where we can flourish and thrive? Well, it really comes down to 3 things. The micro choices we make, the moment by moment choices we make, the choices we make between every inhale and every exhale. Between every inhale and before my next exhale, am I going to be mad still at that last email that came in? Or I'm going to choose to let it go and reframe and reboot and relook at my life from a positive lens. Flow, we're going to talk about that in a moment. And life meaning, a life of meaning, creating a life of meaning. So why does that 10% only mean 10%? Like, I thought if I win the lottery, I'm going to be so much happier. Yeah, for a nanosecond. And then guess what happens? It's going to drop down to this base level of happiness. So that base level is different for all of us. But what we can do from that base level is incredible. So how do we start? Well, the first thing is, where is your focus? As I mentioned before, where your focus goes, your life will flow. I'm going to put a slide up for a moment, for about 30 seconds, so I can have some water. And I want you to tell me how many shapes you see on the slide. You can write it down, you could pop it in the chat, this one you can put in the chat. But how many shapes do you see? I'm going to about 30 seconds, don't overthink it. Here you go. And I'll grab a sip of water. About how many shapes do you see? Four, three, two, one. Okay, we had 30. Wow. Okay, 6. Awesome. All right. So yes, 16, 12, 11. Brilliant. All fantastic, fantastic numbers. And then if I said to you, I have no idea. But I like your numbers. Alison was counting very fast. 7, 28, 7. Great. Honestly, yeah, brilliant. Thank you guys for playing along with me. Now, if I was to say to you, how many kids were on the bus and what time was it on the clock? Does anyone know? If you're like me, I'd be like, what kids and what clock, right? So 8:20 or so and no children on the bus. Now, this is an important one. Your focus was directed by what? The question I asked. Yes, Andrea says, our attention was focused to the shapes, not the details. And the pizza slice. Well, who does? Well, pizza makes everybody happy, let's be honest. But with that, Think about the questions we often ask ourselves each day without even realizing it. Oh, why did you make that mistake? I can't believe that happened. Or what are they thinking? Or do they like me? And these small questions that we're asking to ourselves internally have the power to direct our focus. So that first question we asked at the very beginning of our time together, what is one thing you're grateful for? That is a great question. And just think about it. We often say, oh, how's your day? Don't ask that because it could be a 50-50. But if I was to say, Alison, Andre, Irina, Autumn, Tom, what's the best thing that's happened to you today? I've just directed your focus. You're now automatically seeking more of the good. So I love this quote. And this is not flippant. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Therefore, guard accordingly. Our happiness really does come down to the thoughts that we choose to believe. Research statistics have said, and again, how do you actually measure this? That on average, we have about 70,000 thoughts a day. Could be down to 40,000, but we have a lot, let's just say that. And on average, 95% of those are repetitive. The same thoughts we had as yesterday. Where did I do the groceries? Am I going to pick up the kids? Where are the kids? Do I have kids? Whatever. And then 85% of those tend to be negative. It is not a character flaw. It is part of that negativity bias. So this is why the awareness is so important. Number one is awareness. Watch your thoughts because they become your words. Watch your words because they become your actions. Watch your actions because they create your habits. Watch your habits because they build your character, and your character will lead you to your destiny. Everything we do begins with a thought. Our thought can change our brain. Our brain adapts to the positive and the negative. So the more negative thoughts we have, the more thick those grooves are. Habits, the good ones and the not so good ones, also comes down to our habitual thinking. Not a judgment, but what can we do about it? So let's come back to the acronym, the 5 pillars. PERMA. First one, P, for positive emotion. First one is choice. How do I choose to look at my life? Is this getting up early in the morning is something I have to do, or is it something I get to do? Getting into the carpool lane, is it something I have to do, or is it something I get to do? Traveling, whatever it might be, sometimes it can feel like it's too much, but again, what a privilege to find the extraordinary in the ordinary of days. Another thing that will boost your positive emotion, and you fit gyms, this is why we're here. This is why I think it's so important. And I'm so appreciative and recognizing that you are only one workout away from a good mood. Because movement is one of the best things you can do for your emotions, because we have engineered movement out of our body. Your emotions are happier, your brain is happier when you are moving. So for positive emotions, it's how we move through life. Which thoughts do we choose to move in and out of our mind? How do we choose to move our body in this world and keep it a beautiful vessel, a vehicle for a life of our dreams? And we cannot talk about mind body. Mind is your body. Where you focus, your energy goes. So P for positive emotion, just a few things to raise your positive emotion. E, engagement, big one. Be here now, in this moment. And then in this moment. And then in this moment, your power, your superpower for your happiness and your joy is when you can be in this moment. Now, pain is inevitable, as Pema Chodron says, suffering is optional. Pain will happen. We just went through a global pandemic. The entire world is in pain. But the suffering is the thoughts we choose to pile upon that. Be here now. Finding a place where you can be in the moment without worrying about what just happened 5 minutes ago or worrying about what might happen in 5 minutes. One we have no control of. The only thing we know for certain is this moment. So what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do with it? What are you going to choose to do with this moment? Then we have R. So we have positive emotion, engagement, R, relationships. So important. You may have heard of the golden rule: treat and speak to others as they would like to be spoken to. Well, then there's the platinum rule, because maybe your sweet spot is different to mine. Your love language is different to mine. So treat others and speak to others as they would like to be spoken to. And now, here's a diamond rule: treat yourself as you would your loved one. Our relationship with ourselves is the heart work and the hard work, learning to be happy with who we are in our own company. And then we can spread that happiness to our families, and happier families create happier communities. Relationships with others, being grateful for the relationships we have, even the challenging ones, because they are our teachers. Being grateful for even sometimes we do this with someone. What are they teaching me? What is it I need to learn about myself? When we can reflect from the lens of all that we are and all that is good, it is amazing the power and the meaning and what can come into our life from developing thriving relationships, not just phoning them in. But when you're with your family, be all there. When you're with yourself, be all there. Positive emotion, being engaged in your life, not just watching from the sidelines, being in it, living it. Oh, your relationship, your precious self and your precious relationships, the family that you have and the family that you've chosen. The choir, who's the 5 people in your choir that you could call at 2 a.m. and they would be there? These are precious, precious gifts that we need to nurture and take care of. And then we have M for meaning and purpose. There are areas around the world called the blue zones. These are the areas in the world. This is work done by Dan Buettner, where people flourish and thrive into their hundreds. They are so active. They are like, cheering on their grandchildren. They are out living, not just surviving. They are thriving their hundreds. And there are 9 commonalities. Some of it is moving well, eating well, being with family, a spiritual or faith-based. But the other one is they have a sense of meaning. Every one of these communities knows their why. If you've heard of that great talk by Simon Sinek, it all starts with why. What is your why? What is your why for getting up every day? And sometimes people go, Petra, I don't know. I don't know what brings me meaning anymore. So this will be one of the prompts you're going to see in June, but I'm going to give you a little teaser right now. Sometimes when we think of meaning, we can actually feel a little bit anxious about it. Well, maybe I don't have enough meaning in my life, or maybe I don't have purpose with a capital P when I'm going to cheer from the mountaintops. It can be small, but it has to be meaningful to you. So when you have some time, when you're busy, when you're not busy being a human doing, but you're busy being a human being, I want you to think about your life. Don't think about it from your head, move into your heart. And I want you to think about 3 years from now. It's a good timeline, 3 years, 5 years, whatever. And everything had gone well. COVID was well behind us. We'd got the vaccine, it'd all been sorted out. Everything was good in your life. You'd gotten the courage, you'd gotten the confidence to step into a bold life. And it had worked out. Everything had gone well. The universe had transpired in your favor, because she always does. And then ask yourself these 4 questions. Where would I be? Who would I be with? What would I be doing? And the most important one, how do I want to feel? Where would I be? Who would I be with? What would I be doing? And how would I want to feel? For some of you, it might be traveling the world. For others, it might be, I'm in the back garden with my grandbabies, with a vegetable patch that we just grew together, and I feel so filled with joy. It could be, I'm traveling the world, I'm a photographer, and I'm feeling vibrant, I'm excited. It can be anything. But what happens is our brain shuts our happiness down before our heart has time to speak. And I often say, you will give up on your dreams long before your dreams give up on you. So here's to living and stepping into a life of your dreams. So I love this saying by Bishop T.D. Jakes. If you can't figure out your purpose, figure out your passion, for your passion will lead you right into your purpose. And we're going to talk about passion in a moment. We talk about that place of being fully engaged. And one of those places of being fully engaged is when we talk about flow. And that's often when you can tap into your passion. We're going to come to that in a moment. So we have PERMA, positive emotion, being engaged, being committed into your relationships, having meaning and purpose and accomplishments, looking back to see how far you've come and celebrating all that you have done versus all the places you still have to go, as Dr. So with that, as we wrap up this portion, before we get into the Q&A, I have mentioned the power of focus, and I have mentioned the power of questions. Questions are the gateway to possibility. Without a good question, good answers have no place to go. So I'm going to leave you today with three, I think, one of the most three powerful questions that you ask yourself to start building this foundation of a flourishing life. The first question I'm going to invite you to do, and we're not really going to do a deep dive now, take a little note, and these will all be sent out to you again in June. You've got the recording. But one question I want you to think about is, what is something in your past that you feel proud of? What is something in your past that you feel proud of? Because that ties into accomplishments. Because we often feel pride when we've gone through a challenging time, or we've helped someone else get through a challenging time, or we've pushed ourselves further than we ever thought we could. It could be running a marathon. It could be going fitness back. It could be getting through an illness. It could be getting through COVID, for goodness sake. You should all feel so much pride around that, because what's important? We feel pride when we've pulled on our internal strengths. And this is a great free survey you can all do. It's at viacharacter.org. It stands for Virtues in Action, or Values in Action. And when we look back to see about something we're proud of, it reminds you that you have everything you need inside of you. We all have 24 character strengths. They can never be taken away from you. But when the next time something hard comes, remember that happiness is not steady state, it's the ups and downs. But the next time you have a dip, you're going to be able to go, oh, I've done hard things before. Didn't like it, but I can do it again. And then when you do the viacharacter.org survey, I'd love you to do one thing. I would like you to write, it's going to give you from 1 to 24 your character strengths. I'd like you to write out your top 5 and put them on Post-it notes or on index cards, and put them on your computer, put them on the fridge, put them in your gym bag, put them wherever you can see them. And then the next time you're going to have could be a meeting. It could be something that hasn't gone well. It could be a discourse within your relationship. You're like, I don't know if I have what it takes to do this thing. Oh, you look at that piece of paper and go, oh, yes, I do. Because one of those top 5 character strengths would be just what you need to help you do the next hard thing. So first question is, what is something in your past that you feel proud of? Second question is, what is something in the present that excites you? What is something in the present that excites you? Now, why is this important? When you do things that excite you, that bring you meaning, it could be, for me, I get really excited. I'm traveling the world right now, but what makes me so happy is when I have a camera in my hand, on my iPhone, because it's such a good camera these days. But when I'm in nature and I'm somewhere where I don't know where I am, and I've got the camera, I almost go out and I get lost. I drop into this thing called flow. Flow is that state of mind, that state of being when time disappears. It could be knitting, it could be reading a book, it could be cooking, it could be baking, it could be playing tennis, it could be anything. So I want you to think about the last time that time disappeared for you. I'm going to hear you 4 questions, give you 4 questions that you might have heard before. When is the last time that time disappeared? Where were you? What were you doing? Who were you with? And how did you feel? Flow state is your brain. When time disappears, you know what else disappears? Your worries and your stress. I encourage you all here, whether watching live or on the replay, to carve out 2 hours of flow a week. And you may go, Petra, who has time? I only have time to do this thing called happiness. Here's the thing. Have you heard of burnout? This is active recovery for your brain. It's like working out. It doesn't have to be 2 hours all in one go. 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there. I want you all to give your brain a break. And when you're in flow state, whether that's knitting, whether it's out in nature, whether that's meditating, doing yoga, whatever it might be for you, that allows your brain to turn off and your heart to turn on. So, third last question. What is something in your future, 3 years, 2 years, 1 year from now, that you are looking forward to? This is your why. This is your purpose. And as Mark Twain so well said, the 2 most important days of your life are the day you were born. I'm so grateful you were born. And the day you find out why. And then we can tie the strengths of our past into what brings us joy and meaning in the present, and what excites us for the future. That is where we can find the sweet spot of happiness. It's pulling on your own strengths. It's being appreciative of all that is in life. And it's being excited for what still has to be. Because at the end of the day, we don't know how much time we have. This is why this work is so important, because I want you all here to live a life of your dreams versus being one of the people as they look back, as they're transitioning from this life going, oh gosh, I wish I'd tried that thing. I wish I'd asked that person out. I wish I'd taken the first step to whatever. The time is now. The time is now. And life is just like a camera. Focus on what is important. Capture the good times. Develop from the negatives. And if things don't turn out right, just take another shot. So, one last thing that is the keystone to happiness is gratitude. And I am so grateful for you. So grateful for you all. Before we move off into the rest of your day where you're going to be seeking more good, I'm going to open up the Q&A and see if there are any questions that you would like to ask. Let me know if there are any questions that feel untethered for you, feel like, oh, I know we're going to get the happiness habits starting in June, but I would love to know this, or can you go a little deeper on that? The fourth question, oh, okay, Andrea. So the fourth questions, which go into, you use these questions so many times, Andrea. The fourth one about flow state, and also for like, what would my life look like 3 years, 5 years from now? First one is, where would I be? Or in flow state, where was I? What was I doing? Who was I with? Fourth one, how was I feel? How do I feel? So where would I be? Who would I be with? What would I be doing? And how would I want to feel? That's for the future. And then in flow state, no worries. And then looking back, when last time disappeared was, what was I doing? Who was I with? How did I feel? And where was I? So one is helping us imagine our best possible future. And the other one is remembering what brings us joy in the past. Beautiful. And let me scroll through and just check the Q&A right here. Okay, some great. So yes, Deborah, there's a recording being handed out to you. You're welcome. And this is a great question. Yes. Oh, 2, why did you choose this title for the lecture? Okay. And another person, how do you interpret what I've heard referred to as toxic positivity? Okay, great question. Great question. So the first one is like, why 30 days to a happier you? Well, it was myself in collaboration with the incredible team at UFit Gyms. And we recognized that I think in a world where we expect, like, we see happiness as a bumper sticker. No, it's not. It actually takes work. So we wanted to, and we also know you're busy. You are busy human beings. So we wanted to create an easy, accessible action steps for you over 30 days. And also, habits are such a buzzword right now, because the book Atomic Habits, this is brilliant. But again, happiness takes time. And it's a constant reboot. Look, I teach this. And I have days when I get up and I'm like, I just want to go back to bed and I don't feel happy. So this is also playing into the toxic positivity. I think when people talk about when positivity can get a negative reputation is when it's like blinders on and we're not taking account for life. Happiness, positive psychology is not saying you're happy or sad. It's like, no, you're all of that. It's living in the land of and. There are moments when I'm happy and there are moments when I'm really sad. And there's moments when I feel courageous and there's moments when I'm terrified. There's moments when I'm like leading the charge. There's moments when I'm procrastinating. It's the land of and. And anything, too much of anything can be a negative, right? Too much of working out can be a negative. So toxic positivity is when we're blinders on, ignoring the gaps. So positive psychology is a full circle. All it's doing really is flipping the starting point. So for example, oh, you're welcome, Mary. So for example, I may or may not have been to a therapist back in my day, but traditional therapists, when you sit down, is like, okay, what needs to be worked on? What's wrong? What needs to be fixed? A psychologist who works in positive psychology, if I was to go and see them, they would say, hey, Petra, tell me what's working in your life. And at first I might be a little bit like, well, I'm paying you to fix all that's wrong. But when I actually go back and go, oh yeah, actually, well, this I'm not happy with, but if I look at all of this, a lot of my life is going really well. So positive psychology is flipping the foundation. It's not looking at the cracks. It's looking at all that is going well, but it's not toxic in the regard that we're not saying, oh, just be happy. That's not real. We're human beings. We have all the emotions. We have the fear and the doubt and the worry and the negativity, but it's then what do we choose to do with it? So I hope that helps. Let me see the Q&A one more. I see another one. Oh, you're welcome. Yes. Great questions, by the way. Thank you so much. Yes. Thank you, Autumn. Yes, I think, and we'll do one last thought here. Autumn says the land of and. We tend to be very much like this, right? I'm a success or a failure. I'm fit or I'm fat. I'm lazy or I'm energetic. No, I think we're all of that. We're all of it. And it's when we can be really appreciative of all of ourselves, the good and the not so good, the go get 'em attitude and the moments of like, I just want to eat bonbons and sit on the couch. And then be appreciative and have gratitude for you just showing up every day. Positive psychology is doing the best that we can each and every day. And there are going to be days when we do really well, and there's going to be days when we don't do so well. And that is what makes us human. So with that, what I'm going to invite you to do, when we sign off today, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for being here. So deeply grateful on behalf of myself and UFit Gyms, who I'm so deeply grateful for recognizing the importance of our mental health and Mental Health Awareness Month, is that this is just the starting point. But happiness is like jam. We want to share it and spread it, because guess what? When we spread it, we get some on ourselves. So I'm going to invite you to do, as we end this part of our time together, again, you'll get the recording, and starting in June, you're going to get 30 happiness habit little reminders each day, along with a quote and some videos every week. Some of it will be a review of this, and some will be some new things for you to contemplate and consider. But what I'd love you to do more than anything is how we start this is by sharing it, by living the possibility. So what I would love you to do when we sign off together, when I end the webinar, first thing, this is one time I'm actually going to say, yeah, it's okay. You can get on your technology. I would love you to send a gratitude text to someone. Just thanking them. Don't say you've been in a happiness webinar. Just say, I'm thinking about you. And be specific. Be specific. I'm so grateful because you helped me take care of the kids, or you came and picked me up, or that phone call, you called me out of the blue last week when I wasn't feeling great. And I cannot thank you enough. When we start to live the change, that's how we spread the change. And again, like I mentioned, happiness is like jam. You cannot spread it without getting some on yourself. And I want you to notice when you press send on that gratitude text, just how amazing you feel. I want to say deeply from the bottom of my heart how grateful I am for you being here today. You took time out of your busy day to come in. Some of you I know, I see some familiar names. Many of you I don't know. Thank you for the gift of your time. On behalf of myself and You Fit Gyms, we are so grateful for you being here. I am so honored that they invited me to share this time with you, and I'm excited to share the month of June with you, more happiness habits. Remember, go out, be the change. The best way to predict the future is to go out and create it. Thank you so much.